right. I have no idea why that glitched and stopped, but hey, we just gonna get started, y'all. Listen, we got a packed schedule to get to, but we got a lot to talk about, a lot of good to talk about, but some weird things as well with Gladiator 2 doing absolutely mind-blowing in terms of the reactions. Tom Holland talking some Miles Morales, talking a little bit about the future of Spider-Man 4, and also Smile 2 opening very well at the box office, but Joker Folia do falling right off of the bandwagon. They added the top 5, y'all, already. This is terrible. I mean, listen, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We don't have Loretto here tonight, but he is enjoying When We Were Young Fest out in Vegas, which has a slew of great hardcore bands. Listen, I'm jealous, okay? I'm like, look, I want to be there. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. We also have our other co-host here tonight, Ileana. What's going on?
Well, hello. I'm excited. We do have a packed schedule, and I feel like today we're athletes. We're here.
Offense.
We're gonna go back to back. We're gonna tackle this shit.
Absolutely. We've got Quaman Kaiser here on the first line. Welcome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you. What's going on, Isaac? Good to see you.
Good morning.
Laser. Yeah, he's in Sweden.
Oh, wow. Good morning to you.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So he is a really good friend of the channel, guys. Definitely check out the Amateur Otaku over there. They talk all things anime, and this man, if you need an anime expert, this is the guy. Like, he has watched over, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've watched over 400 anime shows. Like, you know your anime. So
that's an Olympian. Definitely. We're athletes. That's an Olympian.
That's an Olympian right there. So definitely go check out their channel over there, guys. And thank you so much for coming tonight. And we're going to just dive right in with our first segment, guys. We're getting started with... Y'all, let's take some movies and shows from the week, starting off with Agatha All Along. Listen, the conclusion of last week's episode and then this current episode we're on have just been a twofer for me. It has been going strong since the ending of last week's episode with the reveal of, spoiler alert, Wiccan, who is Billy Maximoff, as we've learned from this last episode. And man, I'm loving where we're at. Y'all can also check out our reaction on the main channel. But Ileana, I just wanted to ask you about your thoughts on that episode, man. We both checked it out together, and it was a blast.
No, I think I had so much fun. I genuinely think that episode was the one that provoked such intense reactions, even more than the previous episode. And I had a blast with it. Of course, we chit-chatted a bit at the end of our reaction last week, so you guys should definitely check that out. But I loved last week's episode. I felt like the pacing was really, really, really strong. It was kind of back on track to where we were before the last episode, which was still pretty short, and I think still in terms of the structure, the weakest episode. But this week we came back so strong, genuinely at this point, I think it's my top episode. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was really solid. The storytelling was good. The comedy was balanced. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but I really love how we use certain elements from WandaVision, made certain references that helped us propel the story in a way that didn't feel cringe. It didn't feel overrated or anything. Like, it generally was a good haha, wasn't overdone, and actually propelled us to, honestly, what I think is shaping up to be a very, very, very exciting last 3 episodes. So I'm pumped. I really enjoyed it. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, honestly, you took the words right out of my mouth. It is very razor sharp with its pacing. I mean, this is an episode where things just keep happening. I mean, we go from one setting to the next, and we start to unravel a lot of things that we were thinking the whole time. Like, okay, who is William Kaplan and Billy Maximoff? Who are they? We learn more about how Billy got into the body. We learn that he had interactions with the other witches before even meeting them for the road. We also learn
Connections.
his perspective throughout these episodes. And it's just a great episode to give us some more perspective to the overall story before we head to more trials. Man, I think Joe Locke, too, he's great in this role. I mean, I think he really just brings the best out of the Wiccan role. And I think he's perfect to continue on because, honestly, I don't think this is the last we're going to see of the Wiccan character. I think we're going to have Young Avengers. I think they're going to build a team up. Like, I could totally see them running with the current team that it seems like they're building up. I mean, the end of the Marvels built up a lot to the Young Avengers. So I could see him and Kamala and Kate Bishop and all these other characters really just interacting so great on screen together. Honestly, just think about him and Kamala together on screen. I'm super excited for that meetup.
2 flavors of fangirl. I love it. No, I think the Young Avengers that are shaping up are gonna have some really, really good on-screen chemistry.
Yes.
As much as I could hope for. And the queer representation. I think that was so important. I feel like so many Young Avengers fans for so many years were so like concerned that Marvel was just gonna like completely erase that like identity from them. And I'm just so happy that they're not. And there's hope. So really excited for like this next leg of the MCU.
Which, by the way, totally justified for them to feel that way. I mean, we know Disney has been ducky and dodgy about it, but yeah, they didn't dodge this time, and that's good. It's great for the representation. So super good to see that. Look, him and those Young Avengers with on those Thunderbolts.
They could take them.
Oh yeah, the Thunderbolts don't got nobody.
They could just bully them. They could honestly just bully the Thunderbolts and be done with it.
Like literally, Wiccan. You got Kamala. You got a lot of characters that have powers in this team. You're gonna have some kind of Hulk character. So yeah, it's gonna be a great build up. But this episode, absolutely fire.
Hell yeah.
Now let's talk about something we might not agree on.
Listen here. I've been stewing over the weekend. I have to Okay, I've been stewing. But you know what? You go ahead.
Smile 2, the sequel to the first movie that, hey, has done pretty well in terms of the horror community. A lot of people, at least in my corner of the horror community, have recommended Smile. And I just watched the first one for the first time, the Saturday before I saw this one. Y'all, I was spooked. I'm not going to front. And then Smile 2 got me too. But what I love about Smile 2 is it elevates so much about the first one. Not only just bringing in Naomi Scott as an actress who has tons of talent, but also you also elevate the visibility of this story because it's a pop star, and everybody knows about what happened with this accident. And we really take things to the next level in terms of not just the story, but to me, the scares, the cinematography, and those little upside down shots that they did in the first one, they returned here so well. I love that upside down cinematography. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed what I saw out of Smile. I also think it, in a way, parallels the scare to the fame. A little bit of claustrophobia from being famous. I love that part of it as well. How I feel like her anxieties are not only coming from the entity, but also from being famous and from having such a huge thing happen to her. I just think on every front, it elevated the first one and what the first one had to say. I totally understand your criticism, though, about like it repeating the message. I think for me, it's effective because it just feels like a bigger version of what that first one was trying to get at. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but let's just say it feels like it's going to get even bigger after this one. So
it was rough.
Yeah, I was like, uh-oh. Let's just say I was like, uh-oh. There's definitely going to be a Smile 3. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's crazy.
But
that is
how
crazy.
did you feel about Smile 2? You said you had a little time to think about it. What would you
think?
Yeah,
I've been thinking about it. I went to see it with a friend of mine.
Okay.
Who invited me to like the critic screening or the press screening. And my initial reaction was, this is fun, this is silly, but I think halfway through I was getting a bit of fatigue with the concept, but that again, that was like my
Mm.
initial like knee-jerk reaction. I'm like, damn, we still at this, huh? But at the same time, I understand because it lends itself to the concept. I think this is what I've been stewing with because you are like going insane with the protagonist.
Yeah.
So like conceptually, it works. It definitely works because it's happening to her over and over and over again, and she's reliving all of these terrible things that she did, by the
Yeah.
way, which I think is kind of more like I'm trying to translate. I'm going from Spanish to English right now. But like more than just being a pop star, more than dealing with fame, it was also a really, really interesting exploration of dealing with your own demons
Yeah.
that you caused yourself.
Yeah.
Like facing the facts that you have been a toxic person to others and to yourself and the consequences of that, I think is fascinating. I think it is very, very, very cool. I think the concept is um I think it's well done. I think it is like as you were saying, like this elevates the first one. Like every um installment hones in more on the concept.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it gets better as it goes because they're learning as they go, how do we make this better? How do we make this tighter? So, it is a good film. I think it fulfills the scare, the spooks, the heebie-jeebies that you're looking for this season for sure. I do wish maybe this is just me being a little weird. Maybe the substance has changed me, but I do wish that the reveal at the end we could have lived with a little bit more. I feel like we could have
Mhm.
we had like this whole really, really cool like effect
Yeah.
and we didn't really stew with that a lot, I feel. We just kind of stuck with perhaps maybe it was like a budget decision.
Mhm.
Um but considering that, I do like the idea of a lot of the scares just being very human.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
So,
natural. Yeah.
it's a movie that sat with me, I have to say. Is it for me? Am I in love with it? No, but I totally see it as a very, very well-made, elevated, like, horror film for that, community of fans of the first. Like, you're either with it or you're not. I think that's kind of like the jam here.
Yeah, I think if you love that first one, I think you will love this one
For
too. Whether or
sure.
not you think it's better, I think it's definitely, person to person dependent. But man, for me, I thought this one was better than the first one. I do totally see your criticism though about like we didn't really sit with it a lot. It's like we get to a certain point where the scares start happening and then they just keep happening. Like it's just like
Yeah.
boom, big scare after big scare after big scare. And I really liked it. I think we could have cut out about 20 minutes though. I think if we
Yeah.
would have kind of tightened up a little bit and just cut it down to about a hard two. Like, I mean, listen,
Exactly.
I think it could be about 145. That's just me, but
And we could have
we
been
could maybe cut
comfortable.
it down to a hard two. We could have helped some of those lingering moments. But honestly, all in all, I was really happy with Smile 2. I thought it was a great follow-up to the first one. And I think after the end of this one, I'm looking forward to the next one because I'm like, hey, if the next one hits, I mean, we got another great horror trilogy on our hands, a modern horror trilogy other than Ty
Mhm.
West's that, hey, can really bring in fans. We also got Megan 2 around the corner. There's a lot of like horror franchises in the brewing here. Terrifier 3 just came out.
Mhm,
Like a
mhm,
lot of
mhm.
great horror franchises in the brew
And
here.
so distinct.
Yeah,
Such
very
like,
different.
neither one is like the other in
Yep.
any way, shape, or form, and I think that's delicious. I think that is so good to enrich, the genre. So, honestly, good on these filmmakers.
Bringing new ideas to the table, even though these things have been done before. They have this nice modern
New
twist on them.
approaches.
Yeah, yeah, new approaches. Perfectly said. All right, let's get to Legend of Vox Machina, which I'm not caught up on, but you've been watching. How do you feel about it?
Devastated.
Oh no,
This
what happened?
week was no, but in like the best way possible. This week was a very, very epic. It's an interesting episode drop strategy that
Mhm.
Amazon does with this series, and I think it works so well. Because each season is about 12 episodes,
Mm.
but we get 3 episodes per week. So honestly, we get like an hour and some of
Ooh.
like show every week, and you get to sit with it. You get to really, really enrich yourself in this world every week, every Thursday night, and you still have like such amazing cliffhangers to look forward to the next week. So I really, really like that strategy here, and it works with this story in particular. But man, oh man, if you guys like fantasy, if you guys like Invincible, if you like animated, like
Invincible.
adult shows, this is one of the best out there right now. It is so good, even if you're not into Dungeons and Dragons, which is like the story that this is based on, a
Mhm.
D&D campaign by this team called Critical Role. It is phenomenal. The voice actors are phenomenal. Emmy Award winners. And you get a
Mm.
lot of really, really fun castings too. Like Mark Strong was in like last week's episode. Like when you do like the Amazon X-ray thing, you'll see like this incredible cast just like popping in.
Wow.
Just because they know so many people. Like you have Stephanie Beatriz as one of the side characters. You have I said Mark Strong. You also have this was actually this whole season, the antagonist. I believe this was the one of the last things that Lance Reddick did before he passed
Oh,
so
snap.
tragically. And he plays Thordak, which is like this huge, incredible dragon that has been a threat since season 2. And his performance is phenomenal. So, if you guys are into that, highly recommend it. This week was devastating because we had a death. We had a
Oh
death in the family. But we
no.
know, as some of us who have seen the campaign, we know we know what's coming, but I love that they do change certain things to make the adaptation fit the format of episodic television rather than, straight from a D&D campaign, which is like a 4-hour session per episode. So, really
Ooh.
interesting, really fun, and I'm having a blast with it.
That is amazing. Yeah, I've been meaning to get caught up on Vox Machina. I just am in a sea of shows right now. I'm like between Superman
It's
and Lois,
hard.
and yeah, it's like there's so much. I'm like Agatha, Superman and Lois. I've been watching Only Murders in the Building. I'm like, can the TV never slows down? That's something I noticed. It's like TV never. I just got through
No.
this Star show, Sweet Pea. Like there's just all these shows that just come out of left and right
Mhm.
corners of the universe, and I'm like, woo.
And they're
Okay,
good. There's
Machina, I will
so
catch up.
many good ones.
Yeah, so many good shows. And man, I gotta say hello to a legacy fan of the
Oh,
channel,
wow.
Eric Patterson. What's going on? Good to see
Hello,
you.
hello.
Eric's been with the channel, Eli, I think since around its inception in 2018. Like
Oh,
Eric's
wow.
been here for a long
That's an
time. So Eric,
OG.
thank you so much for pulling up. It's so good to see you. And then Quemin says that we have, by the way, correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Vox Machina is such a dope show. So
Yeah, it is
also
Vox Machina. You're
co-signing.
good, you're good.
Yeah. I gotta watch it. I gotta watch
It's
it.
so good, and they did greenlight the second campaign they did, Mighty 9, and it's all in the same universe. So
Ooh.
it's like a whole it sounds so nerdy, but, like, there's this whole cinematic universe of, like, lore and fantasy world building and characters, between campaigns, so we're gonna have kind of like a fantasy D&D Avengers kind of a situation with this
Ooh,
show, so if
okay.
I were y'all, I would hop on because it's really fun, it's very satisfying, and I think it is an easy binge, truly.
Ooh, you selling me. You selling me.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's finish off this section with just one more show. Superman and Lois, guys, is on a steamrolling great time right now. I mean, this show is fantastic. It is the best the CW Arrowverse has had to offer. This season has currently been exploring the death of Superman arc. So, for those who don't know, in the
Oh.
comics, Doomsday kills Superman. That's what happens in this show in their own kind of way, because the way that they form Doomsday is way different. But I do really enjoy Tyler Hoechlin's Superman. Bitsy Tulloch is a great Lois Lane, my favorite to date. She is amazing as this character. And man, I mean, listen, Superman, it's Superman's show, but it's also Lois's show. And I feel like Lois Lane is like the heart of this show. We've had several episodes without Superman in them, and Lois Lane's presence has been such a great presence to be able to continue this show. But this season, man, we got twists and turns. We had a brave sacrifice in the last episode, and the last couple episodes were so good. I don't want to spoil too much, but all I'm going to say is they are handling the death of Superman in their own way, and it's very well done so far. So if you haven't checked out Superman and Lois, definitely get caught up on that one. So good so far.
And she's such a good actress. Like I've been following, like her names. I just looked her up because I forgot her name. Elizabeth Tulloch.
Yeah, she goes by
is such to me like one of like the legends of like cable, like regular cable television. She was in this show called Grimm for a hell ton of years, and I loved that show. It was like this fantasy show. And then after that, she like I think she was in something else for a couple of years, and then she did Superman and Lois, and I'm like. So like I did see like the first 2 seasons of the show, and I think she is phenomenal. I think she carries as Lois. So really good casting too. I never expected her as Lois.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. I feel like she really embodies that character perfectly. She has the
badass
acting chop for it. Yeah, she's badass. Like I'm like, listen, I don't want to beat up on the Snyderverse or anything, but I just think that she is the best Lois Lane we've had. And
sometimes you got to give Lois a gun.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you got to just like let Lois Lane be this badass. And I think she does it well.
It works.
But y'all, let's get to the main meat and potatoes of the show. Let's get to the... All right, y'all, it is time for the roundup, the main news of the show. And we're starting off taking a pulse here of the box office, guys. We're talking Smile 2, which opened with a really good 23 million domestic and a worldwide $46 million total. So its overseas take-in was also the same and matched its domestic haul, which the domestic haul is very similar to that of the first film. Also, Wild Robot opened in 21 new international markets and is now at 196 million. So that's good to hear for the Wild Robot, taking in a little bit more. I still feel like, weirdly enough, maybe this is weird to say, but I still feel like that's kind of low, just considering how acclaimed it has been thus far. It does feel just
I feel like it just hasn't had as much marketing.
Yeah, and I think that might be why. But that one, I'm curious to see how much longer they'll let it stay in theaters because it's already available on VOD. So,
which I feel was super quick. I'm not gonna lie.
Same with the another one on this list, but Terrifier 3 is now in 3rd place. But hey, staying in that top 5, horror fans are really eating right now. Good for horror. I mean, listen, typically we don't have 3 horror offerings on the top 5, but here we are with, I guess if you could count Beetlejuice kind of horror.
I think so. I think Beetlejuice is very Halloween-y.
Yeah, it's planted its flag down in the earth here on the top, in the top 5 at number 4. And then number 5, we've got We Live in Time, which, hey, that's like, seems like such a small movie, but you've got big stars headlining it, and A24 getting a stake in the top 5. Good to see it. Joker 2, out of the top 5. Oh, man. And we've actually got some numbers here to show. Look at Joker 2.
This is so cool.
It's such a crazy spot at number 6. Already
69%. Good Lord.
69%. That's so bad. And We Live in Time finally did open wide. So it had a wide release opening and it went up 1,600% because of that wide release opening. Beetlejuice, only 32%. I mean, that thing is holding on. Like, to bring in that 5 million domestic in how many weeks it's been out quite a few weeks now. And for it to just still stay on the top 5, Warner Brothers.
That's the rewatch, baby.
Yeah, y'all did yourself a little bit of a disservice putting it on digital, I think. But then Terrifier 3, number 3, Wild Robot, and Smile 2. Eli, how you feeling about the box office this week? Got
it's
an interesting boot out of Joker 2. Interesting.
For sure. I think the press tour with Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield has been really, really solid. So it is nice to see We Live in Time be in that top 5. But I'm not all too shocked simply because I have seen so much buzz about it. Not only that, I've seen so many good like reactions to it. At least maybe in my corner of the internet that I'm exposed to, I feel like I constantly am seeing either Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield, or both in some kind of interview or in some kind of content talking about the movie or talking about something else. But like I feel like that big push as well as being big names, especially Andrew Garfield on the chicken shop date that's gone viral this weekend.
Oh my
I
goodness.
guarantee you that that has contributed to this little box office number. So really excited to catch that one. Beetlejuice, man, hanging on
Hanging
strong
on.
to me. Seeing Terrifier 3 and Smile 2, I think is really, really fun because it just goes to show genre is king, especially in this season. And
Yep.
I think I don't remember where I read the other day, probably on my timeline. I read a headline saying that this year in general, like a per theater average, has been one of the best years for the theaters in terms of box office numbers since like
Mm.
pre-pandemic. So people are going back to the theaters more in general. And I think over the months that we've been seeing the box office numbers, it really shows, especially films that are rewatchable or films that are like, I guess I don't want to say safe for children, but like appropriate for children.
Yeah.
Like The Wild Robot and kind of, Beetlejuice, though it depends on your parents. If Beetlejuice
Inside
is
Out.
appropriate.
Yeah, Inside Out too. That was a hell of a haul
Exactly.
on that one. Yeah. And then even I was gonna say Deadpool and Wolverine, but I was
I thought the
Despicable
same.
Me 4 also had a big haul. So it's like, yeah, the animated movies are doing well. I'm like, wow, Robot. I wonder why it's not at like 500-600, but 200 is good for it. I think it's budget. Laser, you might know the budget, but hello, he said he hit 1,000 lists on Letterboxd. Okay,
Oh,
shit, this
wow.
man been working. Good for you, man. What's like your most niche list? Like, let us know what's like your most bizarre list of
What's your
your
freak?
Letterboxd. Yeah, what's your freak? Um, Love Horror Season, says Eric Patterson. Just got back from
Hell
Universal
yeah.
Studios Horror Nights. Awesome. Yeah, so you're eating right now with the box office. Yikes, Joker 2. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Joker 2 too, because it lost 1,245 theaters, which about time. I feel like it was taking up space. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, Warner Brothers. Y'all saw that massive drop in the second week. About time they pulled some theaters because it wasn't doing well and it's not going to do well. And it's projected to lose 150 million for the studio.
Ah,
So yeah, it's on a downward trend. Look at
yikes.
Tyler. It's almost like if A24 actually tries marketing
Isn't
them
that
movies, they do well.
crazy?
What a concept. Yeah. Oh my
No, it
goodness.
is really unfortunate because I feel like they barely marketed Sing Sing, and Sing Sing also didn't even like show up in Puerto Rico theaters this year, so I wasn't able to catch it. And
Oh.
it's crazy. So like again, the few times they do pull their budget to market, people show up. These are original movies with like usually pretty big names attached to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So yeah,
A24.
we live in time. Again, that press tour, solid. Whoever they hire for the PR, very, very good.
They're doing that work. And out of any of the movies here, it's something for the romance crowd. You know what I mean? Like there's
Exactly.
nothing else to compete with it. So
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know that I'm gonna sit here and say, hey, it'll be in the top 5 for weeks to come, but like it's probably gonna stay in the top 10 for a little while because yeah, romance fans
Sure.
have something to watch. Only thing is like
Until Venom 3 comes around.
oh yeah, well, that comes out next week, but my thing about We Live in
Another
Time
one for the
is
romance fans.
I don't know how much We Live in Time is going to be a rewatch. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I watched it
No.
once and I was like, that's enough.
That's
So
that's
it'll
enough of that.
yeah, it'll stay in the top 10, but top 5, it'll probably bounce out next week with Venom coming in.
Probs.
But let's get to our next story here. James Gunn released the first look at Krypto the Superdog, who was inspired by his rescue dog. But let me tell you something, Eli, the internet is kind of in a little bit of an uproar about it because Krypto
I
typically is
saw.
presented as like a lab. And so you got this section of the internet who's like, James Gunn couldn't even cast the dog right. But I think it's actually kind of sweet that he cast a dog that reminds him of his rescue dog. And I just want to remind y'all, Krypto has not ever really been just one breed. There's been Dalmatian Krypto.
This is how far we've fallen. We're in uproar because of the breed.
People are upset about the breed, and I'm like, man, I don't know, man. Krypto, I'm down. I don't really mind
off of that.
How you feel about
live in Time Horse?
How are you feeling about this first picture, though? I mean, we get Superman and Krypto kind of looking over the Earth. This is borrowed from a comic book.
I like the color.
Yeah, like what we're thinking.
I like that it's colorful. I like that it's probably the few stills that I've seen of this movie actually feel like a Superman comic book. Not that I've read too many, but it feels like that. And we've talked about this over the past couple months. Like this definitely feels like we're picking up what James Gunn is putting down, which is this is a return to form for Superman as a character. This is a return to having something more hopeful and vibrant for the film. And I think it has the potential to really mark its place as a turning point, a positive turning point for the DCU, because like we just talked about, it ain't looking good.
And you know,
but I like the dog. I mean, shit, it's scruffy. Like, what? Why am I gonna be mad at the dog?
I'm like, man, I don't mind the dog looking like a little.
I think it's cute.
Huh?
I think it's sweet.
And I like that it's inspired by his actual rescue dog. Like, there's a purpose behind making Krypto look this way. And honestly, like this photo of just like a man and his best friend chilling, looking over the world, like they're the protectors of the Earth. It's awesome. Like, I love this. I feel like there's going to be that scene where it feels to me like maybe if this shot is in the film, it's maybe like Superman needs to go think about something and Krypto can relate as another superpower.
Who even knows? This could be the closing shot. Wouldn't that be insane?
That'd be crazy. Like, he solidifies
like, hey, here's the end of the movie
as the protector of the world, and then him and Krypto are just like watching over the world, like, hey, let's go save the day over there. Let's go. Hey, there's something going on over there. Yeah, that'd be great. I would love if it was a last shot because it's nice. It's really good shot with his dog. Quaman says, I love the old pre-crisis comics, so I'm all for Krypto being in the movie. And Laser said this Superman feels like a fun Superman. Henry Cavill was good, but was too dark and gritty as the character. And yeah, I think everybody on the show agrees with the Laser. It's just, we've had that kind of gloom and doom feeling with Superman for the last decade on the movie screen. And then you go to the small screen, you see like Tyler Hoechlin, who's like a dad as Superman. He has like such a hopeful, cheery spirit. And it's like, we want that back in the movies again. We want that hopeful,
it's
cheery Superman
domestic.
Right.
I think that's what we yearn for. We yearn for a lovely domestic Superman who's just a wholesome guy who sometimes puts glasses on and writes an article or two for, the Daily Planet.
Oh my goodness. Tyler is referencing the Krypto and Titans, and that Krypto and Titans.
Don't bring that up. We don't talk about that.
He just like disappears for so long, and I'm like, did they just forget Krypto's in the show? Like,
man, Titans fell so far. Like I saw the first 2 or 3 seasons of Titans as it was coming out, and I unapologetically, unironically really enjoyed it. But Jesus Christ. Man, Nightwing is hot. Starfire was hot.
Starfire's hot.
I was there for them.
Starfire and Wonder Girl. They were great. Yeah, Donna was awesome.
So bad.
I will say though, like, I thoroughly enjoyed the 3rd season of Titans, but we got to that 4th season. I was like,
4th season was
terrible. The show ended horribly. So
I never saw. I said, you know what? This show doesn't exist anymore. Goodbye. I'm not going to see the end.
She erased it off the board, John.
I said goodbye. I'm clocking out. I've done my time. I have held up with enough.
Kevin Davis with a box office prediction here. Wicked and Gladiator 2 will do well domestic. My only concern is the international.
Listen, Wicked has been translated into so many languages. Wicked has been translated, is so popular in its Spanish translation. Oh, honey, Latin America is going to bring in those numbers.
Ooh.
Just you see.
So Tony Movie Chappie here with a good comment says, has them nervous because I don't know. I want a more brighter Superman because I love the darker and realistic take in Man of Steel, and I don't know how I feel about Krypto. And there is a small section of DC fans that I'm sure feel this way, feel like, hey, we got used to the portrayal that we saw in Man of Steel. I just want you to give it a chance, though, Tony Movie Chappie. I think that James Gunn knows how to bring the best out of his characters, and he made small-time, no-name heroes extremely enjoyable. I can only imagine what he's going to do with Superman. Like, the world's most popular hero. I think he's going to make him so...
The first time he kind of tackles, like, actually well-known, popular comic book characters. Because he's just kind of been I don't know if the term is underdog, but I think he's kind of been the underdog for his superheroes. And he's made his mark in the genre.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, let's move on to the next slide here. Tom Holland apparently wants to mentor young Miles Morales actor like Robert Downey Jr. did for him. So, given a little context to this, Tom Holland actually went on the YouTube channel Rich Roll and had an interview with the interviewer, and he answered several different questions. He talked a little bit about Spider-Man 4. Apparently, him and Zendaya have read the script, and they really like what they've seen so far. Also, he talked briefly about Miles Morales, and the direct quote was, "If I would be lucky enough to somehow bring Miles Morales into my Spider-Man universe and into the MCU, I'd love to do it for a young kid, what Robert Downey Jr. did for me." So, a little bit more context to that quote as well. Robert Downey Jr. actually got them to shoot more Spider-Man stuff than they were originally going to do. They had way less Tom Holland lines for Spider-Man in Civil War. So Robert Downey Jr. actually sat them down and was like, hey, we should have this kid in more. And this kid being Tom Holland, he really was there to help Tom Holland through the beginning of his big screen career. And I think that would be great. I mean, what better person to help usher in Miles Morales than the Spider-Man who's been playing Spider-Man for the last tons of years. No better person.
9 years.
Yeah, last nine years. Oh
my God.
So let me ask you though, Eli, I have a question for you and for the audience. Do you guys think they should use the same Miles from Spider-Verse? Because I like love
the same one.
Yeah, like the same Miles. Because I feel like you can't really. And it was a question I saw posed on the internet. I'm like, well, that's a very experienced Miles. I don't know if you can make him a mentee. You know what I mean?
Because he already had his mentor.
Yeah,
he's having his arc now.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't really fit with kind of, the MCU, corner of the universe there. I know they're all connected, and we obviously saw that last year with Into this across the Spider-Verse. But I think, as we also saw, these characters can live in their own corners of the cinematic universe. And they can be distinct from each other, and it still works, and you still have this wonderful representation of Miles Morales in animated form. And I think you could have a really, really good one in a live action form and explore it. Enjoy the different versions and take advantage of exploring different facets of the character. But please, for the love of Christ, keep him Puerto Rican.
Let me tell you guys I think he should be half black, half Puerto Rican for sure.
It is essential to his character. Let's keep it that way.
Yep, you gotta have somebody who is half black, half Puerto Rican, which is why I think Shamik Moore. I'm sorry, you're great as a voice actor, but I will.
I also find him a little bit too old for the role.
Yeah, it's
just not a good fit live action wise. I think he's wonderful for the voice. I think even though he's not Puerto Rican, his Puerto Rican Spanish, thanks to his co-stars, is very, very good, and it works for the film. But we got to have somebody a little bit more specific, more of a specific casting here. And I would 100% go for an unknown, because Tom Holland was practically unknown when
if I'm not mistaken, Miles Brown, I think, is half Puerto Rican.
Miles Brown?
He was on Blackish. And I
Mm.
oh no, well, they have Mexican, so I think bring in an unknown in that case then.
But he's still Afro-Latino.
Yeah, so I mean,
it could still work as long as we don't get an America Chavez situation where they just completely just wrecked her and we just have her speaking Mexican Spanish for a very distinctly Black and Puerto Rican character. I think we can stray away from that.
well, here's an idea I kind of always had, and I think could work if he wanted to bring that Miles, the Spider-Verse Miles, into live action. Just make him, first off, dump out everything the Sony Spider-Verse has done and just make him the Spider-Man of that universe. I thought maybe that's what they were going to do, but now that we're too far down that trash pile, I think Miles is too good for that.
Honestly.
Miles is too good for that.
Honestly.
Like, but I was thinking maybe that's where they were going at first, but nope. I picture based off this headline, eventually Tom Speeder sacrifices himself for Miles like Tony did for him. Yeah, it's a sad thought, but it could happen.
That's definitely like a long-term like end game.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. What's going on, Hottie? Mike in the house.
We're hotties tonight. Or wait, are we going to see Megan?
We're gonna do the little Megan dance.
I mean, she's doing some promo for Venom. We'll be hotties next week.
Got the two hotties on the way next week. But
yeah,
I do think it's overdue. We need a Miles Morales in the MCU. I think you give Peter one more movie, or maybe even two, and then you bring Miles in. I think also they're in the entanglement of Avengers Doomsday and all that. I'm like, you do that after you do the Doomsday and the Secret Wars. Like, do that next. But Tom Holland wants to be the mentor for young Miles, and I think it makes sense. Hopefully that comes to fruition. Let's move on here. We got Gladiator 2. The first reactions call it a total spectacle and more. It's been getting lots of buzz. I mean, I'm talking people talking about Denzel Washington getting an Oscar for this thing. People said one of the reactions said Gladiator 2 serves up the richest feast in the epic action set pieces and deliciously ribald treachery. Dovetailing stylishly with the original Paul Mescal leads a solid, stellar cast with aplomb. Denzel Washington, Joseph Quinn, and Fred Hetchinger are a collective powerhouse. I mean, people have been saying nothing but great things about Gladiator 2. Man, I'm excited. Listen, at first I was like, Gladiator 2, but then Paul Mescal signed on, Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, and Ridley Scott is back for it. All-star cast, Ridley's back. I don't think anything can go wrong with that. Like, I'm loving what I'm hearing so far. And honestly, from what I've seen, I think it could be awesome. I mean, just look at this still. I'm like, dude, I can't wait for that battle. But Eli, how we feeling? Gladiator 2? First reactions call it a spectacle. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm like, could I see it in 40X? Just, every time someone gets stabbed, just just bumping around. It looks really good, though. I think it is definitely going to serve precisely that purpose of being a cinematic spectacle on such a large scale. Again, just from the stills that we've seen and some clips from the trailers, I think it's going to be very impressive, and possibly up there to compete with Dune, maybe in technical categories, if it's truly as great as people are saying. But, then again, we always gotta sometimes take reactions with a grain of salt, because sometimes you got some critics, and there's a little segue to the next one.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got people who are just, there for the vibes, there for the clout.
Yeah, and, you had one particular TikToker there who hyped it all the way up, but there were critics that were at the screening that seemed to thoroughly enjoy it. So
that's what brings me hope.
Yeah, there were critics talking this up. So I'm like, okay, that gives me some hope. And not to mention, that first one's just so good. I mean, it's a classic. So it's like, yeah, when you do these far out legacy sequels, Ooh, you're really flipping a coin, but it sounds like they hit heads here and did a great job bringing this
And
one out.
Ridley Scott needs a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sure does.
He needs a fucking win. Is what he needs.
I'm worried though, because I'm like, well, the positive about this and Wicked coming out at the same time is completely different audiences. So you're working with two different fan bases, two different audiences. So that's a positive. I'm worried will Wicked have better legs and kind of steamroll over this, or hey, could it potentially have the legs? Also, Wicked needs to be worried about Moana too, right around the corner from it, because it's like, okay, that same audience is going to be looking forward to Moana too.
Also a musical.
So, I'm worried about old Wicked, but I wonder how Gladiator is going to shape up in the box office. Laser makes a good point here. Gladiator 3 is in the works already. Yep, has been greenlit. I worry about a third one. I'm like, okay,
it's going to depend so heavily, like, with this one.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, okay, how much are we going to drag this out?
Let's see. Let's see. Multi-generational revenge stories, perhaps. I don't know, man. But again, that's how I felt with this one as a concept. So could be eating our words. Could be eating our words. We don't know.
I forgot about this.
Oh my god.
Gladiator 2's budget $310. Okay,
hold me back.
Good.
That's more expensive than, what was it? Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny.
See, okay, now I'm really worried about Gladiator 2.
Baby girl, I don't know. They're gonna have to. Ridley, I hold. I'm gonna hold your hands when I say this. You are not making your money back on the first weekend.
Oh, absolutely,
it's not gonna happen. It's simply not gonna happen.
I don't worry about them making their money back. Period. I mean, if you're 310, you gotta. You need at least 600 to make some money.
Those set pieces better be phenomenal. I want to see the Coliseum rebuilt, like, for that kind of money. That's insane.
Ooh, Laser said the trailers were ass. I gotta disagree. I thought the trailers looked so good. Maybe the song choices. I think people were a little iffy about the song choices, but I'm like, if we want to put some K-Dot and Megan Thee Stallion in this movie, I don't mind. It's not gonna stop me. Huh?
Just put him Megan Thee Stallion's hiss over the trailer.
Like they did with Elvis. They had Doja Cat and Elvis. It's like,
good Lord.
I'm down.
No, that was a choice. That was truly, choices have been made.
Gladiator 3 somehow Maximus returns. Yeah, see, if we start getting into like, oh, he's been raised from the dead, and like, listen,
absolutely not.
I'm done. You locked.
Packing it up. I'm taking my popcorn and my drink, and I'm going home.
Going home. I'm out. But guys, we got to talk about this last one, which is, I wouldn't say necessarily a huge surprise, but it's just another reminder of how this industry is moving. Studios. Let me preface this by saying an article came out on The Wrap asking who needs critics when you have influencers, and it highlighted a recent campaign for Alien Romulus, which was before the critics even got to see the movie. They had a big influencer screening, and in this influencer screening, they had, like, I guess, water spraying and all these effects going on in the actual audience. And influencers got to post about this movie before critics even did, and it ended up doing well in theaters. And we've been seeing this pattern a lot. We've been seeing with Barbie, it happened, with other movies, it's happened, where there are separate screenings for influencers than there are critics. This might sound controversial. I don't really mind the separate screening thing. My whole issue with this article and what seems to be happening is on the influencer side of things, it seems to be that we're having pay to play reviews. We're having influencers who are openly saying, well, if I didn't like the movie, I might just focus my content more on the red carpet or more on the, and to me, that dulls criticism in the sense that you should be truthful. Even having a platform of millions of followers, you should express how you felt about the movie, even if you didn't like it. And it makes me worry that studios are paying these influencers to say only positive things, and that's not how movie criticism should work. That's not how movies should be marketed, in my opinion. It should be marketed with the truth. Because, I mean, let's be real. The marketing, them doing the pull quotes and stuff, they already pull quote from the most positive stuff. I find it disingenuous to just have these influencers only saying the positive things. So for me, that's like the biggest red flag out of all this is like, okay, so studios are going to just pay these people and like, hey, say good things. I don't think that's good at all. And I think for future budding content creators, for people like Laser and other Gen Z content creators, I want them to be truthful. I want them to let me know if they did not like the movie. I don't like the idea of, well, I don't want to break
The relationship.
any trust or relationships with the studios. I want people to be honest. So how are you feeling about this, Elay, and studios maybe possibly moving toward an more influencer marketing plan over critics?
It is interesting. I work in advertising full time. That is my day job, and I do work as well. We do a lot of influencer marketing, and
I'm sure.
we do have one of the clients is a studio. Um, that we were. I'm not going to say just in case,
Yeah.
but we do have a major studio as one of the clients, and they tend to do just kind of like a traditional marketing here anyway. We do that work for them. But there is that brand influencer relationship is kind of the same expectation across the board, be it a movie studio, be it a food client, be it a fashion client, anything. The expectation is the exchange being monetary, be it through a gift, an influencer, a PR box. There's always an exchange for positive feedback, for positive promotion, for positive. And if you say anything negative, you are immediately knocked off the list. Even if you did it positively, but if you didn't do it in the brand friendly way, knocked off the list. Like brands are very, very cutthroat when it comes to the people that they give access to, in a sense. And at least here in Puerto Rico, the screenings, like the special screenings for a lot of films, especially a lot of big films, influencers and critics get lumped together. And influencers obviously get more priority over critics because at the end of the day, here they just want reach. They just want to see that number of this is of an influencer is just another billboard that we are, even if we're not paying them to talk about the movie, we are offering the movie to them for free because they get to go see it early at a screening, and we are expecting in exchange a reaction, a promotion. And even if they don't do it, because a lot of them don't do it, won't do anything for free, but they will, take advantage of the perks. They still tell their friends and their inner circles, that word of mouth about the movie. And it's just dishonest, like you were saying. I think it's just disingenuous, especially when we're talking about art. We are commodifying art constantly, and it is anti-art to commodify it to this extent. And as opposed to, who the hell cares if I give you this, Glossier perfume, like PR box, beauty, so many beauty influencers, some of the most famous ones are known for being so super honest because people trust them. There is the importance of trust of I'm recommending this lipstick to you. And if I consume or buy it, that lipstick better be as good as you say it is. And I feel like we don't get that as much with movies because people don't take I don't think people in general take film as seriously as maybe they should. I'm not saying, oh, we all have to be auteurs about it. Absolutely not. I think films should be super accessible, but the appreciation for art shouldn't be lost. And the shift in the industry and in priorities is once again another step in commodifying art and losing that relationship with as a viewer audience with the film. So yeah, I've gone on a bit, but I've been stewing with this, especially because I've seen both sides.
Yeah.
And I think the worst part is here we don't have separate screenings. It's all one screening and less space is made for critics. because critics don't have as much, smaller critics don't have as much reach as these influencers who have nothing to do with movies. They don't even talk about movies like in their content. But because their audience might align with the target audience for the movie, then they're seeing it from a purely, strictly marketing perspective. And I feel like there should be space. If you're gonna do it, it's gonna happen. The shift has already been made because influencer marketing is so lucrative right now. You should make room for both because guess what? Critics are still their word, even though their audiences are smaller, their word is taken more seriously because you can tell, that a lot of them are not being paid to do this. And you believe that, you got to take the tinfoil hat off, sir. We are not being paid a lot of the time by any studio to write a positive review of any sort. The same goes for a reaction. And if you are, I don't know. I don't know of that person. And at the same time, I've lost my train of thought a bit, but critics don't get paid. It costs you nothing to give them access, and you're still increasing your reach. So you can and you should make room for both if you absolutely have to have influencers in the room.
Kyla brought up this one. The random guy on TikTok who somehow keeps
Girl,
singing horribly.
That's another thing. That's disrespectful and unprofessional in what it is.
I'm a little, my thing about this too is, perfectly said, by the way, like everything you said, perfectly said. I don't think I could have said it better myself, but look at how Joker 2 did so terribly in the box office. First, that's critics' words, because I just looked up one of our biggest influencers in this space, and spoiler alert, he doesn't have a review up. So movie critics
red flag
caused that tumble. Now I want to say, I think the biggest hurtful thing it's doing to the industry is the interviews, because it has become, with the influencers, they focus more of it on them and exploiting these celebrity names to get clicks. So they do stupid stuff like the singing in front of them and asking, what was that one, gay son or thought daughter, stupid stuff like that.
God. Yeah, to America Ferrera. And she was like, what?
Yeah, she's like, what the hell, dude? Like that kind of stuff I think is ridiculous. And I really hope studios and PR companies start to enforce guidelines. Like, hey, y'all can't be up here asking stupid questions like that, because there are journalists. They do.
That's so crazy. They do.
Oh, they do?
Some of them, yes. Yeah. If you're a PR company and if you're not doing this, that's just completely not the industry standard. Yeah. But advertising company agencies, PR companies, they all provide a guideline for the talent. A lot of the times the talent doesn't care. And then by that point, it's too late. That's the insane part of it, too.
Yeah. And I hope that we get more journalists and critics doing interviews again, because let's just be real. You can go viral off of a clip of, like, let's say I asked Anthony Mackie, hey, is the Hulk in Captain America 4? And he says, oh, man, well, I can't quite say, but I'll wink if he is, and he winks. If I post that clip, I'm probably going viral. I don't even need to ask a dumbass question or ask Anthony Mackie, gay son or thought daughter. I don't need to do that. And so my whole thing is like, with those influencers, why not just ask questions? You can
that would require research, preparation, and they're not talent.
Doing that. They're not doing that. But I think the industry has been this way for a while, and I don't necessarily. I guess on my end of it, I'm like, I know that there are going to be influencer screenings and critic screenings and stuff. And I look at that and I'm like, hey, I'm a content creator, so I fall a little bit in the middle of both, but I'm not about to lie to you about how I feel about the movie. You're not going to, Warner Brothers, I won't.
Your audience trust
it now. I'm not going to even take a check if you wanted me to talk up Joker 2. It's not happening. So what? I'm not going to pay to give a good review, but hey, for those that do, I don't know how I could live with myself at night if I was lying, to be honest. Like, if I was lying.
Imagine if I had to be like Megalopolis, movie of the year. Like, no. Like, I have shame I actually bring back shame.
Absolutely.
I have a conscience, and I I never want to say something or express an opinion that I don't actually believe in.
Mm-mm.
But that's called having character. Not
Yep.
a It's lacking a lot, and it is very difficult to have that backbone in this space if you want to be successful. Not impossible, but a lot of people take the easy way up.
Yep. And you know what?
Very
I
unfortunate.
think for those people, hey, that's their way that they're gonna do it. But hey, for
It
me,
is what it is.
I'm staying just like I am, y'all. But that's a great way to end the stream. Elaine, let the people know where they can find you and what you got coming up.
You can find me at Captain Melendez on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can also find me over on PR Critics. I'm the president of the Puerto Rico Critics Association, and we just launched our second episode of the podcast. I'm not on it, but some of my colleagues are on it this week, and they were talking about the New York Film Festival, which was super buzzy, and they saw a ton of incredible films. So definitely go check that out. I believe I retweeted it already. If not, Hector, I'm sorry. I will be retweeting it. So you can see that on my Twitter.
Guys, definitely be sure to go follow her over on Twitter and check out the second episode. I'm sure there's a lot of informative and great reviews over there. Yeah, New York Film Festival they've had some bangers, I've heard.
Solid.
So, yeah, I'm excited to go through some reviews and look at some content around that, because some of the titles are coming up for Denver Film Festival. But thank you so much, Ileana, for this episode. It was great having you as always. And y'all, if you're on this channel, Geekly Goods Live, or you're on the main channel, Geekly Goods, come on over to the main channel, Geekly Goods. We do a lot of coverage on reactions, reviews, and more. We also have Marvel, Cobra Kai, and other content in the Shorts tab that you can find. Guys, this week, we got a lot. We got Venom 3 coming up. We got Don't Move on Netflix. I'm going to see Anora as well. So you'll see reviews for those three, as well as reactions continuing for Superman and Lois, because this season is getting really good. Just watch episode 4, and let me tell you guys, getting better and better per week. And also, Only Murders in the Building is nearly coming to a close. Guys, I don't know who it is. I don't know.
Agatha. Oh my God, there's so much going on.
Yeah, there's so much going on. And we also, there are other goodies coming up this week. So definitely check out the main channel. And hey, come back at the same time, same place next week, y'all. And we'll see you next time on Geekly Goods. See y'all.